Well, first of all, not really in love with my porn name to begin with. So I really dislike this question.
My first day on set was for the company Reality Kings. I think that's a lot of girls' company that they first shoot for. And it was in Florida. It was for Come Fiesta. I was filling out the model release. The director went, "What's your name?" And I went, "I don't know. I don't know. What would you call me?" And he goes, "What do you mean? What would I call you?" And I'm like, "What would you name me?"
Leia, Princess Leia, Falcon, Millennium Falcon. Change the spelling of Leia because I didn't want to get sued.
My porn name is actually my middle name and my great-grandmother's first name.
My mom actually came up with my porn name. I told her I needed a modeling name. She came up with this big list because she's a super name nerd, knows what like every name in the world means, and she said that one and it blew my mind.
That name was my best friend's name when I was in kindergarten, and then she moved away, and I always thought her name was very, very cute, Abigail Max, so I stole it.
Basically, the name Cadence, I just always thought was really fucking cute. Like, I just think it sounds like Cadence. It's like, oh, cute. The name Lux was from the movie The Virgin Suicides. One sister's name in it is Lux, and I always thought that that was like a really pretty name, but I thought it also sounded pretty slutty.
Amber is my real name, but Ivy comes from Poison Ivy, but not Batman. Comes from my favorite band, The Cramps. I love Poison Ivy. They're from Akron, Ohio, and they're rockabilly goodness.
It's my real name, but I added the Carter. I wish I wouldn't have, because first of all, it's too long. Second of all, my real name's way hotter anyway. Third of all, like every time I have to sign autographs, it's like super duper long. And I just didn't know anything about branding. I wasn't super business savvy, so I just thought it sounded good, you know?
My original porn name was AMAC. And my first porn scene was with Joanna Angel. And I was kind of with friends like, oh, what's gonna happen? Let's think of a name. But I said I wanted my porn name to be AMAC. And she was like, why? And I was like, hey, Mac, like, and she's like, no. So she actually came up with Tommy Pistol.
I stole my porn name from the girl in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the reporter April O'Neil. I chose it because I thought it was a cool name, if like flowed well. Before I signed with an agency, I knew I was gonna have to come up with a name, and I didn't want something that was like Candy Hearts or like, you know, Lacey Swallows or something. Is there a girl named Lacey Swallows?
Marley, of course, Bob Marley. I love to smoke weed. And then Brinks, the Brinks truck. Just the fact that it carries a whole bunch of money.
My best friend since first grade, unfortunately since I've started porn, she doesn't talk to me no more, but her name was Lauren, and we were friends first grade all the way through like college, and she definitely made an impact on my life. So I took her first name. And then I like to get filled up, so Phil Ups, Lauren Phil Ups.
Well, my real name is Ryan, and my last name, McLean, I got obviously from Die Hard.
Cassandra is a Greek mythological heroine, but she was cursed by the gods, and so even though she always was correct about her premonitions and her predictions of the future, no one ever believed her. Everyone thought she was insane. So that's where Cassandra came from, and then Rain's nurturing, it's cleansing and beautiful. So yeah, and then I just combined my two aliases into one. Ta-da!
Katie from Gone with the Wind, from Scarlett O'Hara, Morgan for Captain Morgan's. Cause you know, back in the day I liked the rum. Less now I drink vodka, it changed, yeah. I only rum sometimes and like fruity drinks.
I wanted something catchy, and so, you know, Missy, that's cute, and it was a nickname for me growing up. And then my last name, Martinez, I decided to pick something that was kind of Latin-y, you know, so I can get, you know, all the Latin work too, since I'm a brown girl. I think it's kind of catchy, but if I could have any other porn name, I think it would be Carmen Sandiego.
The X actually stands for the St. Andrew's Cross. I have a St. Andrew's Cross on as a tattoo on my back with the words erotica. It's a tribute to Madonna because it's the first time I saw fetish images. And the Maxine part is a tribute to one of my favorite models, Masumi Max. You know what, when I started, somebody was like, oh yeah, you know, and we were looking at Asian names, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't want to choose an Asian name because one, I don't even, like, I'm born in Cambodia, I'm Asian, but I was adopted and I was raised in a Jewish white family, so it like wouldn't make sense to me because I don't even know what the Asian names mean. So I started looking up the Asian name meaning, but then I was like, no, this is not, I can't pretend I'm Asian when I'm not really Asian.
There's so many Lee, Win, Kim out there already, and I didn't want to be another Win, so I wanted, you know what, let's just pick the whitest name. And Starfall is one of the street I grew up with, so I got Starfall, you know, that rule with your first street names and your pet name. I don't live there anymore, but I mean, if you want to be creeper and go there, sure, just stand there.
You know, people ask me a lot how I got my porn name. They're like, oh, you're from Vegas, right? And despite the fact that I'm currently in Las Vegas, this is not where I'm from. I just sort of wanted to come up with a name that came out of the mouth easy, that flowed nicely, easily memorized, stood out from others, and sort of had this psychological association with a place that is like all about fun and good times and wildness and stuff.
I wanted to have a male name. I mean, I'm a huge fan, obviously, of Fleetwood Mac, Stevie Nicks.
My middle name is the Nicole, so Nikki, and then the last name was an ex-boyfriend's last name. I thought it sounded porny. I mean, Huntsman, Huntsmen.
I got my porn name on a date. He was actually like a football player that I went out on a date with like one time, maybe twice. And it was like, I think we went to the movies or something, and after we were like hanging out at his house, and my agent at the time was texting me like, hey, we need to figure out a name for you, because I was about to come to LA. And so we like spent the whole night like on Google looking at like baby name lists, like trying to come up with my name, and that's the name he picked actually, so a boy picked it for me.
When I first got into the industry, I was Jenna Jinx. Well, I was never actually that in the industry, but it was the name I was using for nude modeling. My agent told me, Jinx is too cute of a last name. You need to change it to something more professional. So I decided to abbreviate Jinx into the letter J. So you have Jenna J now. And I went through all the different popular surnames and put them all together and then crossed off names until I finally ended up with my name, which is Jenna J. Ross. But then also, if you drop the J, you get generous. That's a very generous view.
I was born in August, so I thought, hey, I would use August. At first I was like, maybe what if I just go with August? Just August. But then I thought, oh, I'm not like Madonna or anything like that. So I went on to lastnamedictionary.com and I was just trying, like pairing it with the other names, and I came on Ames, and I'm like, okay, so August Ames, that sounds pretty cool.
Taylor, so the last name for my porn name, everyone tells me all the time I look like Taylor Swift, so I used that as the last name. And then for the first name, Kenzie, it was always something that I liked. It was always a name I always thought of, you know, if I ever have a child, I would love to name my child this or something. So I was just like, okay, Kenzie. But obviously now, if that ever happened, I wouldn't name them that.
My mom, when I was a baby, was going to name me Sophia Grace. It stuck with me. I was going to name my daughter that, and then I kind of just did this instead.
My last porn name, Warner, is Marilyn Manson's real last name, so I took his last name. And then my first name, Casey, is because it's very similar to my legal first name, and so I'd always introduce myself to people and they'd just call me Casey because they wouldn't remember. So I'd be like, that's fine, okay, and I just respond to Casey already, so I knew it would be easy to just already be responding to that. And I was also like, haha, so now it is my name and you weren't calling me by my incorrect name, you were just prophesizing my dick-sucking future.
My first grade best friend's name was Aaron, and there was a guy that played basketball for University of Maryland named with the last name Wilcox, and I took two things.
The first name, Daisy, I kind of wanted kind of like a girly name, and it kind of like had a little edge to it, so I just kind of fell in love with Daisy. And then my agent gave me a list of last names, and one of the last names on there was Monroe. So I was like, okay, that's kind of cute. So I decided to choose that.
Comet is like from the car, the Ford, the Mercury Comet. Cute little, 60s car. Dixie, I don't know.
The first boy-girl porn I shot, and it was called Donna of the Dead. It was a zombie porn. And they said, well, you need a porn name. We can't release this movie if you don't have a name. And I said, well, I would prefer to have a masculine or gender neutral name as my first name because it's closer to how I identify as a person. So that's how Aiden happened. And then I wanted a last name that was like some scientific reference because I'm a fucking nerd. And my friend who was directing Donna of the Dead said, I don't think that that's a good idea for you to have a scientific reference as your last name if you do porn. And I said, well, why the fuck not? And he said, well, if you want to do porn, and you want to be successful at it, you have to dumb it up and whore it up. You should probably try to cover up the fact that you're a nerd because you'll end up being more successful that way. So my last name is Star because it's like a generic, porny girl name. Love that story. It's so bad. I was also like drunk in fucking the desert in San Bernardino.